Good evening. Welcome to our winter preseason OHSAA parent meeting. If you were fortunate enough to watch the video that we made in the fall, a lot of this first bit is going to echo some of that stuff that was in there because it's the OHSAA rule stuff. In the realm of really bad PowerPoint, a lot of this I'm just going to read from the beginning here just to cover some of these points. I did delete several slides from that, and I eliminated some of the fluff that was in there. So hopefully, like I said, we get through this pretty quick. The last probably 2 slides are probably the biggest things that we need to get to as far as details for this season, but we're trying to make this as painless as possible. So first of all, why interscholastic athletics? Participation in interscholastic athletic programs is educational in nature and is good for your growth and development as young people and as citizens. Participation is a privilege. It is not a right. It is not designed to prepare you for the next level of sports. Rather, it allows students to engage in well-rounded experience that includes participation in a multitude of extracurricular activities. It implements educational components of participation in interscholastic athletic programs, and it promotes student academics achievement and success over athletic achievement and success. So the student athlete is student first, athlete second. Eligibility, this is one that will affect every student that plays, so we need to make sure that we are understanding that. The eligibility rules exist to maintain competitive balance in school sports to promote the purpose of education-based athletics. As a student athlete, you are primarily responsible for your compliance. Besides OHSAA regulations, the school will have the ability to establish further regulations as far as that goes, but mostly we stick to what they've got on here. As far as OHSAA general standards, there are some exceptions to the OHSAA things. If you want to get into that deeper, if you think that applies to you, there's certainly places you can look, OHSAA.org, but for the most part, most of us, everybody's going to fall into the same basic categories. In order to maintain eligibility, you must be officially enrolled in an OHSAA member school or participating in accordance with state law. You shall not be eligible if you are competing under a false name or if you've provided your school with an incorrect home address. You may not be eligible if you have been recruited to attend the school. All incoming 7th graders were eligible for fall insofar as the scholarship by law, regardless of previous academic achievement. However, now that we've gotten past the fall, all 7th graders and 8th graders are now at the point where we will have a grade card issued, and so in order to maintain eligibility, you have to be receiving passing grades a minimum of 4 classes in the immediately preceding grading period. So our grading period is about to change here, and so if you end up with 2 Fs in junior high or 2 Fs in high school because of the class load, you will be ineligible. All incoming 9th graders must have received passing grades, a minimum of 4 subjects as they were coming from junior high, but that was as we did with the fall. But like I said, now we're into the winter, and so now they're into the high school standards, which is 5 1-credit courses that you have to be passing. So 2 Fs, guaranteed you are ineligible. Students taking College Credit Plus must comply with the same scholarship standards. All students participating at OHSAA member school via state law, home educated, non-public, community, and STEM school students shall also comply with the OHSAA. OHSAA is very, very proud of having lots of rules, and they want to make sure that they make rules to follow all the rules. So, pretty clear about that. If you fail to meet the scholarship standard during the last grading period of the school year, you are not allowed to use summer or CCP courses to try and regain your eligibility for the fall. That was one we had to deal with just this past summer, but something to keep in mind as we get done with the winter and we get into the spring. Some athletes think, oh, I get to the spring, I can take it easy. The expectation is that you are a student first all year long. So in that last semester, if you are not eligible at the end of that last semester, then you are not able to participate in the fall. At the high school level, a student may be eligible for 8 semesters taken in order of attendance, regardless of whether a student participates or is even eligible to participate. At the junior high level, a student may be eligible for 4 semesters taken in order. In other words, I think that's saying if you get held back, you don't get more years of eligibility for 8th grade basketball. So keep that in mind. High school students will be ineligible whenever they turn 20 years old. 7th and 8th grade students who turn 15 before August 1st are also ineligible for 7th and 8th grade, but may be eligible to participate in high school athletics, and that basically happens until they're 20 years old. You will be subject to a period of ineligibility if you are a member school team competing on a non-school team in the same sport during your school team season. This is really an issue with the club soccer, club, we don't have any sports that really have a club or AAU type thing that overlaps, so this is one of those things that I should have deleted. There are certain restrictions regarding tryouts, practice, and competition with non-school, and we're not going to worry about that. You could lose. This is one that's hotly contested right now. This slide may get deleted before we get to even next season, because OHSAA is working on this right now. You may have seen the lawsuit. You could lose your amateur status and forfeit your eligibility if you compete for money or other monetary compensation, or capitalize on your athletic fame by receiving money, merchandise, or services, or by entering into an agreement with a professional team or agent. This is the NIL slide saying that it's not allowed. My guess would be that that's going to come up for a vote very soon, and we will see if that slide gets changed or if we get to keep the same one. I'm not in favor of it, but I will do one. Once eligibility has been established at a member high school, a transfer to a different high school may mean you will lose eligibility for interscholastic athletics for a period of time at your new school. It's usually 50% of the season and the OHSAA tournament, so you usually lose the second half if you decide to go to a different school. The regulation has several exemptions, most of which require ruling from OHSAA's Executive Director Office, so there's lots of paperwork that goes with that in case you need to do that. Before the season's first practice, or prior to your first participation, you should join the team. After the season has started, you must have had a physical examination within the past 13 months, and an examination clearance form must be on file with the school. This is the dragonfly bit. If you have not gotten, if you don't have a current physical, this is something that needs to happen quickly. So basically, 13 months from the last one, yours is still good. You're able to practice, you're able to participate. At that point, and I check this every couple days. I'll probably get to this tomorrow morning to update to make sure we got everybody who we need to have. But at the point when you are past that 13 months, you cannot participate until you get that updated. So you need to be on that and make sure you get all that paperwork into the Dragonfly, and your coaches have access to that or should have access to that to help you understand where we are as far as that goes. That's more of the athletic stuff, this is a big one. In Ohio, any athlete who exhibits signs, symptoms, or behaviors consistent with a concussion, such as a loss of consciousness, headache, dizziness, confusion, or balance problems, shall be immediately removed from the contest or practice and shall not return to play that same day. Thereafter, the student should not return to practice or competition until cleared with written authorization from a physician or healthcare provider approved by the local board in accordance with state law. Participants and parents must review and sign the Ohio Department of Health's concussion information sheet prior to participating. That's part of the stuff that's on Dragonfly. Sudden cardiac arrest is the most common cause of death among student athletes, and dizziness, loss of breath, and a racing heart are often symptoms that are overlooked. In many cases, recognizing the signs of cardiac trouble means student athletes can continue their athletic participation. There's things we try to take very seriously, and a very old school version of toughing through things. We really want to make sure that we have good communication with our students, make sure that they're telling us when something feels wrong. I know every kid wants to compete, they all want to do their best, and sometimes the most stubborn are our best athletes, but we need to make sure they understand the value of getting help when we need to get help. So, the OHSAA does not permit the use of any form of alcohol, tobacco, including e-cigarettes, or illegal drugs at the playing site of any athletic contest. Besides the health risk involved, use of any of these items will result in a student being disqualified from contest, and violators likely facing additional school and legal penalties. Another prominent issue is the use of performance-enhancing supplements. The increased available of these items allows students easy access to a wide variety of products aggressively marketed to, including promises endorsed by faulty research claims, of extraordinary weight loss, explosive power, tremendous strength gains. Essentially, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is, and probably should be avoided. Beyond performance-enhancing supplements, there are additional issues related to illicit drugs, such as anabolic steroids, and some prescription drugs used with the goal of aiding performance. Use of these drugs will result in disqualification from all interscholastic athletics. OHSAA website is a wealth of information to assist parents about all of that. Mental health, just as important as caring for student athletes' physical well-being these days is also caring for student athletes' mental well-being. Students are highly encouraged to discuss any issues related to their mental health with their parents, coaches, and or mental health experts, and there are things listed there that you can go to for help with that. The OHSAA's vision for positive sporting behavior is built on expectations. It calls on the school community, administrators, contest officials, coaches, students, parents, and fans to strive for positive sporting behavior in everything they do by teaching the values of ethics, integrity, equity, fairness, and respect. As a student athlete, you must always remember to respect the game. That means you're expected to accept the responsibility and privilege of respecting your school and community while participating in school sports. You're expected to treat opponents, coaches, and officials with respect. Ensure that your actions do not incite fans or other participants or attempt to embarrass, ridicule, or demean others. If you are ejected from a contest, and this is, I think, this is about the students, if you are ejected from a contest, you'll be subject to an additional 2-game suspension, 1 game for football. If you're ejected from a contest a second time during the same season, you'll be ineligible for the remainder of that sports season. So I know tempers run high. We need to make sure that we're keeping ourselves in check. All right, so this is the part where I get to add a few extra things here. So fortunately for all of you, we've come near the end, so you're all very excited now. You can breathe a sigh of relief. I'm not reading from the cards anymore. Complaints about coaches and officials. You are expected to behave while you are in attendance at games. Cheer for your team, shout encouraging things, just clap and yell yay and woo. If you're removed from a game for doing or saying anything that contest officials or administrators deem inappropriate or across the line, you are banned from all KMAC events for 2 weeks. Okay, so this is specifically addressing the fans. If you're ejected from a second time, it is a 1-year ban, and any physical contact with an official or a player or any other coach is a lifetime KMAC ban. There will be bad calls by officials, and there will be decisions made by your coaches that you disagree with. Expect these things. Try to encourage and support our players. Even the best of our officials have bad days or end up with a perspective that may be different from yours. Cut them some slack. Side note, we have some officials these days who are rather thin-skinned and are more likely to address behavior from the audience or from the crowd than they did just a few years ago. Don't let yourself get caught up in it and then get yourself in trouble. Dual sport athletes. On a large scale is a bad idea. My comment, don't do it. You will probably be seen as a less serious member of both teams. You will get less playing time in team sports by being a dual sport athlete. And this is not talking about playing one sport in the fall and one sport in the winter and one sport in the spring. I'm saying when you are splitting time with multiple sports, you're going to have, something has to give. Okay, and there's a few that can do it, and there's a lot that cannot. And I know a lot of people think they want to participate in absolutely everything. Okay, and the coaches are going out of their way to make sure that they can work with our extracurricular groups like band and FFA, as well as our extracurricular groups like improv, prom committee, all these other things. But you can't expect the coach to let you play when you miss the practice and you may not know what's going on. There are other students who made a point to show up to practice by working out a solution to make sure the playing time is not affected. The dual sport athlete thing, it only works for very few students. I know a lot of people want to be like, I want to do everything, and it takes a very unique athlete to be able to pull that off and to do it well. And it has been done, but it is difficult. And even the ones that have done it will tell you that it adds stress because you got a lot more people you have to communicate with to make that all work together. Playing time. Playing time is not guaranteed or promised and should not be expected, or you and your student will probably be disappointed. every student, 7 through 12, have the opportunity to earn playing time in practice and in workouts. Want to play more? Make yourself indispensable. Make it so the coach has no choice but to keep you out on the floor or in the game. Be coachable. Listen to every comment they make and every suggestion they have, and try to execute their vision with the best of your being. Anything short of that, you're just hoping to be allowed to play. Unfortunately, not all of us are created equal. Not everyone can be the finely tuned athlete that I am just naturally. I understand this. And some of us are going to have to work harder to be able to have playing time than others have to work. It's just it's the nature of the beast. The goal of our coaches is to put the best team forward possible, period. Not those we like the best, not the ones who we think work the hardest, but the best at that moment. Be your best and help the team in any way possible. Again, everybody has the opportunity to compete and to prepare in practice, and that's when you get rewarded by being a part of that team. Many lessons can be learned through interscholastic athletics. I believe my children are much more well-rounded for having competed in high school sports and for having to deal with the many different coaches with different expectations and different teaching styles. It takes a village to raise a child. Coaches are very important people in that village. Bus policy. According to the board-approved athletic handbook, all students must ride to and from all-the-way contests on school-provided transportation. There are some sports that are different in the competitive makeup than others. Track would be the example I give for this, where some athletes are competing very early in the day and some very late. Coaches can allow parents to sign up their own child and take them home. There is a form for an emergency. You know something's going on, or right before Christmas, you're leaving from the contest so you can go to Poughkeepsie, the median, gym, whatever. You know, there are ways to do this. This should be a very rare thing that might be needed. I know most of the coaches will address this specifically in their coaches meeting for how their team will be dealing with this. I don't think boys basketball allows anybody to come back with their parents. They want everybody on the bus. I think the girls basketball, I'm pretty sure, is exactly the same. And again, that is what's supported by the board-approved student handbook as far as all this goes. Show up to school. In order to participate in any extracurricular activity, that means practice or a game, you have to attend at least 5 out of the 7 periods of school. If you are sick, please stay home. If you are not sick, get to school. If you have a doctor's appointment, you can participate in school activities that evening if you have the AD or the principal approve it prior to the appointment. Plan ahead, communicate, make sure that we know what's going on so that it doesn't affect your ability to participate. Chain of command. This brings me to the order you can address your grievances. If a situation arises you're unhappy about, you feel something is going on that shouldn't, your first action is not, and I repeat, not, to call the superintendent or your favorite board member. If you want to upset them, this is a great way to do it. The first step is for your student, the athlete, to address the issue with the coach. If airing your concern that way doesn't solve the problem, or they feel they have not been adequately heard, parents shouldn't try to advocate for their child's point of view with the coach. If you feel this is not productive, then contact the AD, that's me, and we will try to find out how to resolve the issue. If I'm telling you what you don't want to hear, you may choose to go over my head to the superintendent school board. Just a reminder, having your say does not mean that necessarily getting your way. I will listen to your concerns, but we may not agree with the solution. The bottom line, I believe this is the bottom line, is we're here to help your students learn and grow. This is difficult sometimes, but I look forward to working with you to grow these students into happy, healthy, and productive adults. So I do also, this is the end of my presentation, so you are free to go. I have a few copies of, Mike has the wrestling schedules, so if you would like a wrestling schedule on a separate paper, you can get that from him. Down here I have boys basketball, girls basketball, and bowling. And the boys basketball, girls basketball is the front back, and it gives you the high school and the junior high. Okay, so if there's any questions somebody would like to ask me afterwards, I'm going to go back here and shut off the live stream, and then I'm happy to do what I can. So thank you very much for coming, and I look forward to seeing you at all these games. Most people have a hate-hate relationship, it seems.